What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the NerdWide podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my favorite co-host, the man himself, Mr. Chris Rivers. Now, Chris, I want to know how your week's been, first and foremost
Oh,
here.
well, my week's been good. Um, got through work. Got 3 days this week.
Ooh,
A long weekend.
that's exciting.
So,
Feeling well
yeah, the
rested
week.
then?
Yeah, a little bit. As we spoke about a little bit before the show, um, had a good had it. It's been a really good overall sports weekend for me.
Good. Not really for the Vanderbilt, but you know.
My Braves are on their way to the
Oh,
World
I
Series.
am so excited about that. So,
Yeah.
Bill, who he's a huge Dodgers fan and has been forever, and I'm happy for them. They won last year, but I was really rooting for the Braves just because I like
Hmm.
to see different teams go to the
Right.
championships and things.
Yeah.
And of course, Dansby Swanson, I am 100% ready for him to get a ring because he is
Yeah.
totally deserves that. He's got the College World Series ring, and I'm ready for him to have a World Series ring. And of course, that being I guess the closest team to us is Atlanta.
Yeah.
Before we get our own stadium, I'm so excited for us to get a team. But I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, I've been rooting for him since I think I saw my first Braves game in '87.
Oh wow,
I'm old.
yeah.
Um, don't agree with me. What? Um, so I saw my first Braves game then, but so not only am I a longtime fan, but before the season I threw $100 on them to win the World Series. That's gonna pay out a nice little bit
Oh, so at the beginning of the season you did that?
at the beginning of the season
Oh
because last
wow,
year they almost got there last year.
right.
They were up 3-1 in the NLCS before the Dodgers won three
It was
straight and
almost
eliminated them.
history. Thought history was going to repeat itself when it was 3-2.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So the Braves are on the way to the World Series, and then the Titans kind of mopped the field up with the Chiefs.
yeah, that wasn't even a game.
No,
I
no,
wasn't able to
not
watch
at
it. I
all.
watched the highlights, but we'll get why I wasn't able to watch it here in a little bit.
Mm.
Let's see. This week's been busy.
Yeah. See, you never let me ask. You just
Yeah,
start in.
I just kind of go into it. You
How
know what I mean?
how was your week, Tyler?
It was okay. We got a big Halloween party coming up
Mm.
this weekend, and of course, Halloween being my favorite holiday. It's been prepping for it. We've got a lot more things coming in from Amazon this week that I have to set up. Looking at rain, there's like a 30% chance. I'm hoping it does not rain here at all, or if it does, early morning and then straight sunshine because a lot of stuff will be outside. Like we're gonna do a little
We
bonfire. I've got a bunch of decorations to set up. Like the inside, we're still working on. Nothing. So I mean, next year I'm gonna have to work on this room because there's nothing behind me here. If you're a video watcher, I mean, I got my normal setup. I mean, I changed my colors and my lights around, but there's nothing else really going on. But we've got
well,
a busy week ahead. Like I won't be able to play games as much. Like this week, I haven't. Like I was telling you in the pre-show, like I maybe did 30 minutes of Destiny this week, and that has been it for video games, which is
well,
absolutely absurd.
I'm hoping that the weather holds because from what I've been hearing, the entire country is going to have different weather events going on this next weekend. And where we're at, we're kind of in the middle
Mm-hmm.
of a couple of them. So we don't know if we're just going to get the edges of both or if it's going to overlap or I whatever. But
Oh,
there's supposed to be a nor'easter, there's supposed to be a bomb cyclone, and then there's
oh,
supposed to
fun.
be tornadoes. Yeah,
I mean, it's raining here now. They thought this storm was supposed to be a little more extreme than what it was, but it
we
just
need
rained.
the Doom Patrol to save us.
Yeah, something like that.
It's sounds like one of their episodes.
Oh, let's get some housekeeping real quick before we get into our episodes, which one it is, Doom Patrol. Guys, this is the NerdWide Podcast, episode 46. Quick housekeeping. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting services of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure to give us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating on whatever podcasting app you use. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, make sure you leave us a comment down below and what we can fix for you. So let's see the if you want to go the extra mile, you can always go to patreon.com/nerdwide. Toss us a couple bucks for a couple perks that way. If you want to go that little extra bit, audio podcast, I do have to apologize. Last week's episode and this week's episode is going to be a little delayed. I need to clear out my hard drive so I can actually upload audio podcast again. For some reason, I can't convert things and just don't have enough room on my hard drive. So bear with me for a little bit. Got to make a little bit of time and drive everything onto a hard drive, well, a different USB stick, so we can actually upload more things. But Chris, how what you been watching on TV this week?
Um, I finished off American Horror Story season 10.
Okay, is that the most recent one?
Which, yeah,
Okay, how was that?
yeah, that's the double feature season. Um, really good.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I always like their seasons. I just like them to varying degrees. So, this one, the first half, I guess to boil it down and simplify it, has to do a little bit more with vampirism,
Hmm.
and the second half has more to do with aliens.
Did
So,
they combine it all or
um,
anything?
no, no.
Oh, of course not.
So they kept it. It was like an old school double feature.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I liked it. This second half, you get. I think I mentioned last 2 weeks ago, maybe. Neil McDonough plays Dwight Eisenhower.
Hmm.
Sarah Paulson plays his wife, and then I think that was all that was like a. I mean, obviously some of the regulars from the show were in there, but as far as like surprise castings, people that don't normally appear in American Horror Story, I don't recall anybody else of like big name people that you'd recognize. So that was really good. I finished that up, and then I started on American Horror Stories,
Hmm.
which are single episode. They're self-contained, as opposed to being an entire season about one story or half a season about a story. And these are pretty good. The first one, it's actually a two-parter on the very first story, and it takes you back to the murder house from season one,
Oh,
which is very cool. And Matt Bomer's in that, um, aka Larry
Larry.
from Doom Patrol, uh, as well as other great shows like White Collar
Yeah, that's what I know him from
and so
originally.
forth. So he's in that one. And also, very strange. I did not realize she was in it. Paris Jackson
Hmm.
is in that episode. So if you're not familiar, she's one of the two kids that Michael Jackson said he fathered with a woman that I don't think they were ever married.
I don't think so.
But I'm not sure if it was her or her brother that he dangled from the balcony. Um, so anyway,
What a time.
she's in it. She's in it. Um, it's good. I've got two more episodes left, but there's some good ones there.
Mm, mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm. I have been watching. Let's see, Bachelorette started this week, so of course we
Oh
had to
Lord.
watch that episode.
Now that's scary.
Well, that's a
Right?
good. That's a good.
I,
This season won't be as dramatic as previous ones. It's looking like. Um, let's see. We watched the first episode of not Suicide Squad. Squid Games that everyone has been talking about, and
right.
it's got us captive. Not really captivated, but we're interested in it. We just have to, had time to actually sit down and watch the show. And then what I've been watching while working is Riverdale. I am on
Hmm.
season 3, so like I'm behind like 3 or 4 seasons at this point.
So I never really gave Riverdale a shot, but so you said you're behind.
Yeah, I'm maybe 3.5 seasons now, two
Okay.
and a half seasons maybe.
So you may not have gotten to that point. I was going to ask you if you saw a difference, like how much it affected the show when Luke Perry passed away.
So, and this is the season where he dies because in one of the episodes I watched, it said with in memoriam Luke Perry on it, but I
Okay.
don't think it affects the show until the beginning of this next season, like the first episode of the next, because this
Okay.
is all they were already recorded and everything, but they just went in
Right.
post production and put the in memoriam when he actually died for that week. So Jamie
Hmm.
says it's because he's the dad of one of the main characters, and he's in the show, but not a whole lot into the show. Um, Same thing with the guy from Scream, the main one of the killers.
Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah, he's one of the dads of one of the main characters too, and so it's really cool to see them together.
Hmm.
Uh, it's got the so they put Legends of Tomorrow and the first half of Supergirl on Netflix randomly
Uh-huh.
Wednesday. I noticed when I logged in. I'm gonna finish this season of Riverdale since I already started it, and then go into those shows. But it suffers for me because it's got 24 episodes. It suffers for me what most CW shows do, and it's there's essentially two seasons in one. Like they'll finish off a story arc and then start another story arc. And I'm like, we really could have split this into two seasons.
Right.
And but I know that's how they order their shows, and I mean every single one of their CW shows do it. But
Hmm.
it's still good. I mean,
They they can get away with it a little bit more on the uh, Berlantiverse or
hmm
Arrowverse, whatever we're calling it now, on those shows because what they would do is drop the crossover episodes in the middle, and so then when they came out of that, you have
you
your
still have your main storyline to clear up, and
uh-huh.
because like it all ties in. But this one is because what got me back into watching it was they announced this past week that Sabrina is going to be in the new season, Sabrina the Teenage
Mm.
Witch, and I am like, okay, I want to kind of get into it. Like right now, they're a little into. There's a little mystical aspect into it. They're playing a game called Gargoyles and Griffins and Gargoyles, which is just D&D. But like there's a character called the Griffin King that is actually alive in the show and it's killing people. So it's very cultish right now, and
Hmm.
but it's hard because this show is like it's got mobs, it's got gangsters in it, it's got gangs, and these kids are juniors in high school, and like they're doing very adultish decisions and things like that, which I get because it's how their story's written. But sometimes it takes me out of it. I'm like, it's kind of hard to believe a 16-year-old is doing this. And but
Yeah.
apparently in the next couple of seasons there's a time jump where there's like 10 years, 20 years in the future. So they're actually supposed to be playing adults, which makes more sense to me. So we'll see what actually happens. But Chris, they didn't come. People didn't come here to watch and listen to Riverdale or American Horror Story takes, which I mean they do, but they come here to listen to what we want to talk. Let's do Doom Patrol first, since it did not have a finale this week. But this one was Doom
Bird
Patrol
Patrol.
Season 3, Episode 7, Bird Patrol. Now, I had to pull up a recap for this one because a lot happened, and it happened very quickly, I feel like. So we start off right where we ended with Larry on the ground, well, vomiting. We see he vomits a worm.
Yeah.
Don't really know where the storyline is going because both of us, we was it a tumor? Was it a negative spirit? What was going on?
And
Like with a negative spirit baby?
and
It's,
according to Laura, it's 16 pounds.
mm-hmm. And it's a like a parasitic worm, is what she called
Mm-hmm.
it. She said you went up to space and you caught a worm. And to clear up that story arc for now, like they went to the forest. He was just gonna leave it out there to kill it. Then he takes back some water and PB and J. Then he takes back his scarf because it's gonna be a cold night. And I'm like, okay, so it is a baby. He's gonna baby this thing. Is what's gonna happen. Um,
Did you see the end? Like when they normally do the behind the scenes of the
no, what was that?
Matt Bomer actually mentions that, and he says this is basically a callback of sorts. He didn't use that term, but it's going to bring up all of his shortcomings
Hmm.
from his time as a father, and that's why he can't just leave this living thing out in the forest, even though it's a parasite,
Oh
um,
Lord,
because he feels he needs a do-over,
that sounds
is
about right.
basically.
I mean, going off of the father train, we see Cliff pisses off Jane enough to where because
Hmm.
he sold her records, he sold something from Cher.
Her share workout
Yeah,
tapes.
her Cher workout tapes, and then that pissed off Jane, and she turned into oh I can't not remember
Yeah,
um,
um,
Flit,
lit.
and teleports him back to his grandkid's house where he's still dealing with Parkinson's, but they're really I don't know how he's going to do this because how he's going to treat Parkinson's with his brain being undiagnosed. Do you think we ever get a new body for him, or do you think he stays in the same
Uh-huh.
body?
I think they have to, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got access to the stuff. We know because there's cyborgs sitting there, so we
Well,
know
yeah,
they
about
could
to get
do a better
synthetic
job.
skin.
Yeah. So I think he'll get some sort of upgrade. I don't think he'll look as fancy as Cyborg does, but
Right.
he'll definitely he'll definitely get an upgrade. But I'm kind of like you when this whole thing first came up. How are they going to treat it?
Yeah.
Because his brain's just sitting in the head of this robot. Um, are they going to have like an ointment and like rub it on the
Rub it on
brain
the brain.
and let it absorb? Like, what are they going to do with this? It doesn't make any sense. But
No.
it's Doom Patrol. It doesn't have to.
Yeah, it doesn't have to. Well, it all makes sense in the end somehow, some way. So that's his storyline. He takes care of the baby. He almost sets the house on fire while he's contemplating the stealing his daughter's credit card.
Yeah.
Which I was like, oh no, 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 don't do this. But
And I still kind of wonder if he did it.
yeah, because he's
Because,
talking to Ginger before he
uh-huh.
gets taken by the fog,
Yeah.
and I'm not too
Pretty
sure what
sure he was
happens.
broke.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
she puts the credit card in her back in the purse or in her back pocket or wherever she put it. So he doesn't really have it. I don't know. He's got money somehow.
Yeah.
But the biggest, let's see, Jane. We finally got clarification that the personalities are sabotaging Kay and Jane
Hmm.
because I'm pretty sure they realize that they will not exist if Kay is 100% okay. No pun intended there. Um, and then we see Vic has a big decision to see if he's going to do this synthetic skin and take out Grid and what makes him cyborg. And the lady was like, the scientist is like, no, this is a fairly easy procedure. It's just overnight. We can take it all away and be done with it. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure with this whole mother box that he has inside of him, it's not going to be that easy. But here we are.
Maybe they're doing it on a daylight savings weekend when the clock
Right, and just
jumps
has an
back an
extra
hour.
hour. Yeah, I mean that makes
Yeah.
sense. And then the biggest storyline of this whole episode was the whole Laura DeMille issues. We
Hmm.
have we find out why the Sisterhood of Dada cannot stand her because she betrays them to the Bureau of Normalcy, and we got a little bit of history with it, and it showed they've been around for a long time. A lot of the metas that live here been around since World War I, World War II. I don't know if time is different in the Bureau of Normalcy
And
or
they started out as the Bureau of Oddities,
right. And I mean, they even
and
mentioned
then
that, and they were even
yeah,
there for that. So, don't know how time works here. Rita, well, we'll get to there. We see them get betrayed, but how they did it was really cool because they did the foghorn. We see was it the flagellation? I'm trying to find the exact phrase. Not
the
flagellation, not flatulation.
yeah, um, oh, what is it?
Eternal flagellation. There we go.
Eternal flagellation. Yeah.
And essentially, what happens is Victor gets killed when they get betrayed. Well, the bird does, and I'm pretty sure you put another bird in his chest and he'll live again. Don't really know how that works because
Yeah, because
anatomy and physiology, he would already be dead. Don't really get this, but it's a meta, so
when we meet him, he mentions he traded his heart for a canary.
mm-hmm.
So the canary has to keep living for him to
Yeah,
live. But like you said, does it have to be that canary?
right. I mean, he
Could
got
it be any
shocked, and
canary?
the canary got killed, and so Laura, she said she had to do it because it was protecting them. In the end, I don't think so. And so we jump to future time, well, the present time, and the fog takes all of our Doom Patrol members, makes them do a weird dance, which is what they did back in the 1949 when they got betrayed by Laura, made her relive it, or her memories are now back. And we see Rita pop back up because we thought she was supposed to be Victor because she had the mask on, and which I'm so glad Rita's back in the present time. I was really concerned how they were going to do that with the whole memory loss thing. So the eternal flagellation is Victor essentially being brought back to life, but as like thousands of moths, and they made our Doom Patrol team disappear when a moth flew into them. So
Yeah.
don't know what's going on here.
Didn't they? It kind of looked to me like they had owl faces,
Mm. Like I
but
don't know
they
if they
had
were Victor's
moth
faces.
wings.
Like they were all. It was very weird looking, very Doom Patrol-ish.
Yeah, they're very good at doing weird
Yeah,
on this show.
I mean, and they nailed it.
So the big question then is, we get this every time we talk time travel, right? What's Rita's timeline is a mess
Yeah, her whole life is a
because
mess.
she has very distinct memories, and I hope they address this, of being a little girl,
Mm-hmm.
going around to auditions, her mom being a kind of a very bad stage parent, taking her around all these auditions, and then, you know, having sex with studio bosses to get her a part,
Mm-hmm.
this and that. She has these memories, but if she was further back, she could not have had those memories.
Right. Well,
So,
and she doesn't know the Doom Patrol now either because she
right.
cried all those memories away. Now she's got as a sisterhood of Dada memories,
Hmm.
and I'm wondering how were they alive too? Because they were in the service of. We don't know their story of how they got out of the Bureau of Normalcy either.
Right.
Um, because I mean they had that little time world or wherever world they are, like where they dance and stuff like that. And they get away from the Bureau, but I don't. I have got no idea what in the world's going on.
Yeah.
But it's
We definitely need more explanations.
I'm sure. I mean, they do a good job of giving us all that too. I mean, we're getting close.
Yeah.
I think. I don't think
This
next week's
was,
the last one, is it?
don't they have 10?
I think that's what it is. 10. So we got three more episodes. Two more episodes in. 8, 9, 10, 3. I'm an idiot. But that's been Doom Patrol. I'm excited to see where they go from here. There's a lot of storylines. Well, when you have this many characters, you have so many storylines, and I'm invested in Rita's storyline. Kay
Hmm.
and Jane, I'm kind of hit or miss with it each week. Larry's, I'm obviously still invested in because he's still my favorite character. And then Cliff, I don't know what they're doing with it. But Victor, this week I was more excited about because I'm like, oh, he's got a big choice right now. Obviously, he's not. He's going to stay cyborg. Well, we don't know actually, but
I really hate to say it, but I think Cliff has kind of become his storyline right now is probably my least
yeah, I agree
favorite
because it just
because
I'm kind of
it's
over it.
it almost felt like the writer said we need something for him to do in this episode. That Send him back to his
Yeah,
daughter
so
and let
they'll go on
let something
a
happen.
date for 30 minutes, and while
To a
Cliff makes a
food
mess of
truck
the
or
house.
whatever,
Right,
right?
yeah, the food truck down the road.
Um, but yeah, I the K Jane thing is really really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Uh, because we talked about before, like they did in that episode where she got the bicycle. When she came up top, it was Jane that we saw.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean that Kay is Jane as a child,
Right.
and that this is the real person that we've been watching? She's not one of the personalities, which is why she's the only one that cares about Kay getting better.
Right.
So when Kay gets better and all those other personalities go away, are we going to still see Jane? Or are we
Mm-hmm.
going to see something else. So I don't know. It's an interesting.
I like her character as a character because there's a lot you can do with. I mean, honestly could have her own show,
Hmm.
and I mean, a lot of these characters could have their own shows. I'm
Right.
really wondering if and possibly when if Cyborg goes to the Titans because he in the comic books he's a big part of the Titans, and I'm really wanting his and Beast Boy's like relationship because I mean, you always see the relationship through the comics, the TV shows, and movies. And when he was announced for Doom Patrol and we watched him in Doom Patrol, I was thinking, okay, maybe he's gonna be like Beast Boy was in Titans, where he was with the Doom Patrol for a little bit and then comes to Titans. But he is staying in Doom Patrol, which I think that's his home. But I'm ready for like a crossover for him to go help them out or something like that. Like
Yeah.
Beast Boy to be like, oh, I know a guy, but
Maybe they'll set up a new character for Doom Patrol
mm, and then
and then
transfer the
send
yeah.
him over to Titans.
That's what I want so bad. Oh, I'm excited for it. Well, speaking of, let's just jump right over to our Titan show here. So this was
Purple Rain.
right season 3, episode 13, Purple Rain. I'm coming with a hot take. Not my favorite finale. Um,
I get
the
that.
it didn't really. It wasn't. I don't know. I don't feel like there was enough risk, and it wasn't really big enough. Because I mean, the coolest thing here was they brought the Lazarus Pit with Starfire, Blackfire, and Raven, and made it rain, which was the Purple Rain, and it brought everybody back to life. So Jonathan Crane sets one bomb off, and it killed a big portion of the city with
So
the toxin. But
one one question though. Now that rain is gonna soak into the ground,
correct, I had the same exact question. So
and there's people buried in the
yeah,
ground.
and how's this like the people that didn't die from the bomb? I mean, does everybody just get revived that's outside? I mean, will that do
Bigger
conflict?
question: how did they bury Joker? Because
Yeah, I hope that was a very or cremated him or something where he could
Mhm.
not possibly come back. But I don't think we'll ever get the answer to that. And Batman's in the Bruce Wayne comes back home, and I don't is he gonna take back over as Batman in Gotham? Because we see our Titans team leave Gotham
yeah, they head off to San Fran
in a RV.
in a
That's
RV,
such a Dick Grayson
and
move.
Tim Drake goes with them,
I'm so excited. So he is
so he's
staying a
gonna get
part of the
trained.
team. Oh,
Yeah,
I can't wait.
but Donna did not go.
Mm-mm. Donna,
Um,
Starfire went. Blackfire stayed
mhm.
because she's working
Blackfire
with.
and Donna stayed.
So I'm curious. Because I was really surprised to see Argus in this show. Like it wasn't even
Hmm.
mentioned, and then they even name dropped Roy Harper, and
Uh
I
huh.
was like, oh. Will we get a
Yep.
Roy Harper cameo next? Or I'm sure he's going to be in the next season. Now, Donna Troy, maybe we see her again. I don't really, or they might be like Dove, and they might have her around, but not around, or maybe in the first 2 episodes, and then go away like Dove did. Because we've got a pretty stacked Titans team now. We've got Beast Boy, we've got Raven back, we've got Nightwing, we've got Tim Drake, who's going to be the new Robin,
Starfire.
Starfire. I think that's our core five now because Blackfire's not there, Don Troy's not there anymore. Jason Todd is not a part of the Titans. He's still Red Hood somewhere out in the world. Um,
Hmm.
but I think that's it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but the conclusion to Jonathan Crane was not. It was very anticlimactic for me. Like he set off the one bomb. They take down the corrupt cops, and Tim Drake punches Jonathan Crane and knocks him out. And that was it. I was like, okay. I was expecting a little bit more out of this. I mean, season 1
Hmm.
finale we had Raven against her dad and the team against her dad. Um,
I
season
thought it would have been. I thought it would have been good if Crane had gotten desperate
yeah,
and if he had gone back to being Scarecrow.
right. and we had a new Scarecrow mask. I thought looked decent. He wore it for maybe 30 seconds, and then the scene changed, and we never had it again. But it's and then very anti-hero like at the very end of the episode, Raven throws all of the bad memories and dead memories from the Lazarus Pit from Jason Todd and Dick Grayson into his brain, and I'm assuming it's just like it's gonna be a cycle torture of fear
Yeah.
from their fear memories, and I'm like, that's very very anti-hero like, but he's not gonna bother anybody again, and that was what Dick Grayson was saying. Because no, I don't think you're gonna get out of here because it's the cycle of Gotham.
So curious too to see how they work Barbara Gordon in next season because
Or if she comes in the next season.
if she does, but we know that she's trying to get Oracle back online.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so does that play into things? I mean, it's hard to imagine that they won't be back in Gotham next season
Right.
just because Tim Drake's family is there. And once he's through the training, he's going to want to.
Go back and be Robin to Batman.
Uh-huh.
So or maybe that's what all of next season is his training, and then he'll be the one to leave after next season, and we bring in some new character. But I'm
Maybe
very
they get
curious to
Buff
see
back.
yeah, I'm curious to see who our villain is next season too, because it's
Well,
Deathstroke's taken care of. The Gotham story arc seems to be done. So
they said it was going to be Black Star this year,
yeah,
and that ended up not being the
not
case.
even happening. So
No,
I think they expected us to have that, but then it turned because even my wife, she said, I thought Blackfire, was a villain, and I said I think they set it up that way, but then they set it up so she understood what happened. That wasn't Starfire's fault. So
right?
she's like, does Starfire go to Tamaran? We don't know, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a great season. The finale wasn't the best, but I feel like the rest of the season was so good that I'm okay with it ending the way it did. Ah,
They really spent instead of wrapping it up in more of an epic fashion, they spent a good chunk of it setting up some stuff for next
mm-hmm.
year. And so that was the trade-off.
I'm excited for it. I want to, or maybe we don't even see. Or thing is, do we even get to San Francisco next season, or is it just them in the RV? Because they said it's 44 hours from Gotham to San Francisco. Do we see them going throughout the country, visiting places, doing superhero stuff, as they go? I'd be okay with that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, and that'd be a good way to introduce some other metas
Mm-hmm. Oh,
as they go.
what
Maybe they stop off to see the Doom Patrol.
that would be eternal flagellation. You never know what
Yeah.
happens. But that has been Titan Season 3. That's it. We'll be back next year with it. And of course, it can't come soon enough, as we already talked about. And of course, we'll be discussing when we have casting news, we'll talk about it here and things like that. But let's get right into our news. We have a big one here. I've only got 3 news stories to talk about, but the first one is a big one we've talked about briefly with me watching Batwoman. So number 1 is Ruby Rose speaks out about Batwoman's quitting/firing. I put a question mark here because there is a lot to take in here. This is a story that has been developing all week long between Warner Brothers, CW, and Batwoman and Ruby Rose. And we're going to go to Screen Rant by Elliot Griffiths that has a pretty good breakdown of it all. Former Batwoman star Ruby Rose has taken to social media to detail several allegations against both the series showrunner and Warner Brothers. The Australian model turned actress was cast as Kate Kane in the Arrowverse's Batwoman series when it launched in 2019. Batwoman was introduced as CW crossover Elseworlds alongside flagship heroes The Flash and Green Arrow, with her solo series debuting months later. Despite the star appeal of Rose, the actress was surprisingly written out of the show between Batwoman Season 1 and Season 2, replaced by the brand new character Ryan Wilder, who played Javisha Leslie. The character of Kate Kane was recast later in the season to tie in loose ends, but ultimately Rose's involvement with the show was over. At the time, rumors about Rose quitting due to complications behind the scenes were persistent. Now, Rose has broken her silence on her time on Batwoman, taking to Instagram to explain her side of the narrative. Across several posts, the actress details multiple allegations against her coworkers and producers, including former Warner Brothers Television Studios president Peter Roth. The actress began with her post, "Dear CW, enough is enough. I'm going to tell the whole world what really happened on that set." Among other claims, Rose said that the show's producers were responsible for her multiple injuries, one of which required surgery after she was told getting an x ray for her damaged ribs would disrupt filming. She went on to directly tag Batwoman producers Caroline Dries and Sarah Scheiter and Arrowverse head producer Greg Berlanti. Among the allegations are mentions of sexual misconduct by Roth, as well as serious mistreatment of the cast and crew members on set, with the actress claiming she has enough video evidence of her injuries specifically to make a quote 1 hour documentary. Rose's posts have been documented on this discussing film, and there's a lot to read there. I mean, you can Google and find every single thing that she says, but these next couple paragraphs sum it up pretty good. Included in the post was footage of Rose in surgery, and the actress said she was forced to return to work on Batwoman only 10 days after the procedure by Roth. The WB head allegedly threatened her into returning by claiming she would cost the production millions, and that, quote, the whole crew and cast would be fired during production, which she says witnesses should have had therapy after seeing, and the show also lost two stunt doubles while filming. Rose further criticized the unsafe working environment for causing serious injuries to other crew members before finally lambasting the show for ruining Kate Kane. Adding to the alleged misconduct, Rose claims that her rumored on-set fights with other crew members were as a result of her speaking out about everything. What's more, in the height of COVID restrictions, Rose claims the Batwoman production carried out during the pandemic, while other CW shows like Supergirl and The Flash were put on hold. The actress addressed this by saying the producer Dries has no heart. Rose's claims are extremely worrying and could lead to massive repercussions for both Warner Brothers and CW, though it's worth noting that neither have responded to the allegations for now. Um, so that a couple days came later, and I've got some more tweets to read here from my phone. Warner Brothers came out. Warner Brothers TV issues an official statement in response to Ruby Rose's allegations, calling them revisionist history. Quote, the truth is that Warner Brothers Television had decided not to bring back Rose based on multiple complaints about workplace behavior that were handled privately. Now, it's one of those, who do you believe more? And more has come out and more will keep coming out throughout all of this. Do you believe uh, Ruby Rose's story, or do you believe Warner Brothers? It's one of those, do you go with the company as a whole, or do you go with the actress? But to me, like she was even, some of the posts were saying, they had 16, 20-hour days and stuff like that. And the fact that she came back from, and she said she's got footage for an hour-long documentary, makes me think, she is saying the truth here. Now, what helps back this up to me is we always see Grant Gustin always tired. Like whenever he does anything, I feel like he is drained and tired. Like even during the DC fandom, like he's not very, like when he was on set when I filmed it, he looked very worn down. He wasn't very excited. Didn't have a lot of bravado in his voice. Wasn't uppity and things like that. Like it could just be who he is. But Stephen Amell even left the show, left Arrow after 7 seasons. You say he was tired and ready to do some more stuff. I mean, we have constant people. There's people say that these days are long. I'm kind of leaning with Ruby Rose here, especially with saying everything she is. But I don't. I mean, the truth will eventually come out, I'm sure, because there's gonna be a lot of defamation lawsuits and stuff like that. But it's a
I think
big
it's a
story.
bit of both. I mean, in all honesty, it's do I think she acted out, so to speak? Yeah, but if you're dealing with a lot of the things that she's detailing, you're eventually going to get to that point.
Yeah.
And so I think what they're saying that on-set behavior was an issue probably is true as a result of the
Everything she's been
bad
put through.
conditions and everything
Yeah.
that she's being put through. So it's kind of like gaslighting somebody when you make people believe that they're crazy and then you try and lock them up
Mm-hmm.
because they start to act crazy.
It's
It doesn't mean that they were crazy. You kind of drove them to that. Um, I don't know how things are on the sets of these shows. I know that typically with film production and things like that, of course, films are a little bit slower paced
hmm
than TV shows because typically they film a show in about 8 days, um, and then it goes into post, and they'll start the next episode. Um, so I don't know how much she had to be on set. I know people hear 16 to 20-hour work days and they think, "Oh my gosh, that's forever to be doing
hmm
that." But in a lot of cases, if you're one of the leads, when they're setting up a shot or something, you can go to your trailer. Maybe you have to go to makeup to get ready for the next scene,
right.
whatever. So it's not like they're laboring for 16 to 20 hours.
It's not like they're standing on set for that long.
Right. They do have some breaks. But the stuff that she's detailing, um,
Like horrific injuries that she says the team should have had therapy for, but instead they were like, no, no, we're going back to work the next day.
well, yeah, they witnessed a crew member get third degree burns,
Right.
and it's like it was just like, all right, well, next person up into his spot
Yeah.
and go. Um, I would think, and who knows? I mean, these are TV networks and production companies, so it's hard to say how much pull they have, especially. And I think this is like the other CW shows, right? They film in Vancouver.
hmm
So I don't know what it's like up there. I don't know if she would have to go to a studio approved surgeon to have procedure, or if she could just go to whoever. Um, and money does talk. But when I've had a surgery before, just a regular procedure, right? Outpatient. I was specifically told by the doctor, I'm the only one that will tell you when you can go back to work.
hmm
Now, my job was not that physical.
Right.
And for a doctor to allow his patient to go back, or for him to be aware the patient has gone back to a job as physically demanding as hers that involves stunt work and everything else, I, there's going to be documentation of that,
hmm
unless the doctor was bought off,
Right. Or it's
which
like
means the
their
doctor's in trouble.
doctor and stuff. So,
Right. So that's one of the things that caught my attention. Because when you start dealing with stuff like that, either the doctor's in on it because someone cut him a big check or her a big check,
hmm
or the doctor's documenting this stuff.
right.
And
Because you got to do
it's like, hey,
checkups and.
yeah, she would have to do follow-ups. I don't
hmm
know if it was for the ribs or whatever it was. Well, for those, all you can really do is tape somebody up,
Yeah,
right?
that's just rest. You can't do anything for it.
You- So, I mean, if she had surgery,
hmm Unless it wasn't that extensive or intensive of a surgery that there's two ways. It could be she should not have gone back to work as soon as she did, or it was a procedure and surgery that it's not really that intrusive, if you know what I mean.
right?
Like it's you gotta it's like if you had a hangnail cut off your toe or something, it's still technically a
Mhm.
surgery and procedure, but not necessarily you need to be off your foot for 10 days. So I mean, it could be,
Right.
or we just don't know. But it's definitely a story that's developing, and I'm very curious to see what happens. I mean, that it comes off of KJ Appa from Riverdale. He got in a car wreck after like this. Talking about the working conditions, he got in a car wreck after filming for a day, like going leaving set and going home like after working. I think it was a 16-hour day or it was one of those. But he got in a car wreck
Right.
from exhaustion. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's it's definitely
The,
going to be very, I don't know, something to keep your eye on just to see because a lot of our shows we talk about and review and everything are our CW shows. So
right.
it's something definitely to keep an eye on.
the thing to look out for is some of those people that aren't doing the shows anymore, like Melissa Benoist, Stephen Amell,
Mm-hmm.
some of these folks. Are they going to come out
And
and
start
say, "Yeah, that's the way it is"?
and start defending her because I mean
Yeah,
her and Melissa Benoist got real close.
yeah.
So
Well, and she got close to with Katie Lotz.
mm-hmm. So very, very curious to see what happens because I don't know. Melissa will be the first one to speak out because her show's over. But
Yeah.
Katie is still a regular on there, so I mean she might not want to say too much because it'll be ill will and she wants to keep her job. But we'll see what
Hmm.
happens with it though.
Yeah, definitely.
Next story we've got is Hayden Christensen is coming back and he's going to be in the Ahsoka series. We're going to entertainmentweekly.com by Tyler Akalina for this one. Hayden Christensen is heading back to a galaxy far, far away, but a little earlier than expected. The actor is set to reprise his Star Wars role as Anakin Skywalker in the upcoming Disney Plus series Ahsoka, which will follow Anakin's former apprentice Ahsoka Tano, played by Rosario Dawson. Christensen previously played Anakin in 2002's Attack of the Clones and 2005's Revenge of the Sith, the latter two entries of the Star Wars prequel trilogy. The Hollywood Reporter first reported the news Friday, and Dawson appeared to confirm it on Saturday in a now deleted Instagram post, writing, "Sky Guy, they know. See you soon, Snips," a reference to Anakin and Ahsoka's nicknames for each other in animated Clone Wars series. But Christensen was previously confirmed to return in Star Wars franchise the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi series, playing Anakin's more villainous alter ego, Darth Vader. So, it's a very exciting, and I'm really, really ready for that to happen.
I wonder how fast somebody from Disney called Rosario
Yeah, she said,
Dawson
no,
and
no, no,
said,
no, 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 no. You got to delete that now.
"Yeah,
Because,
yeah, this is not confirmed."
yeah, they had Kevin Feige, that bad boy.
Hmm.
And then the last news story here I have for TV is that Invincible Season 2 will be 20 episodes long per Variety. To put that in perspective, Season 1 had 8 episodes. So I am all in. Absolutely
Eight
loved it.
episodes of goodness.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see though, does season two, does it feel like it's going to be dragged out?
Hmm.
Or is it going to be just like season one though, and just banger after banger after banger? Because I think that's what they'll do. Because the comics are really good. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
they've got a lot of story to work
Oh
with
yeah,
there.
they got a lot of source material to work with and go on. Releases this week, Thursday, October 28th, we have Walker Season 2 coming out on the CW. And Sunday, October 31st, is Doctor Who, the most recent season. And it's the Jane Foster. I think that's her name. Is that the actress's name? It's
I think
her.
so.
It's her last season as the Doctor. So,
Or does it sound familiar because of
no, Jane Foster
M-
is from Thor.
MCU Jane Foster?
Let me. So, who is Doctor Who right now?
Too many names.
Yeah, that's a lot going on. Jodie Whittaker. That's a lot better.
Not even close.
Not even. There was a J there. And that puts us right into our movies.
Yes. So, Tyler, um, a serious question here. Take your time. Answer honestly. Seen anything else other than what we were gonna
I did, and I'm honestly really excited to talk about this movie. So,
Are you?
Dune came out on HBO Max and theaters. A little bit of history. I've got a good buddy who has loved Dune and the books for a while now, and he actually gave me a Kindle version of the first book, and I've been reading it the past couple weeks. It's a huge book. I'm only per the Kindle. I'm only like 9 or 10% in, and
Ooh.
I have read a lot, and I'm a very fast reader. But it's a big book, and I'm okay with it. I think there's 10 books out. Um, so and the books are really good. And this is a movie, and I was talking to Jamie about it on the way home after watching it, that is, to me, probably the most book accurate movie I have seen. And for context, maybe I've only seen 30 minutes, read 30 minutes of the movie. But like the details are there, they're sticking straight to the story material, and I think that's why it's so good and why people are loving this movie so much. But we watched this in IMAX, and this movie is phenomenal. This honestly might be my movie of the year. It depends on what Spider-Man does, but this honestly might be the movie of the year. Like, it was so stunningly beautiful. I don't really like IMAX that much because it's so loud, and that's really honestly the biggest difference besides, the bigger screen. But it was very loud, but it was really good, and I have heard nothing but good things about this. The only bad thing that I have heard is that it doesn't advertise the movie correctly. Like, it's you would think that, okay, Dune is supposed to be the first book. We're only halfway through the book when the movie ends, so it should be Dune Part One, but they just name it as Dune. It's just an advertising thing. Because when the movie starts up, it says, it does the title screen, but it does say Part One, but it's advertised as not being a Part One, and we don't have confirmation of a Part Two. They didn't film the whole first book, so I mean, it's very. So we're gonna have to wait a long time for at least another 3 years minimum until we get Part
So
Two.
why would they? I mean, I don't understand. Because now, for context, when they filmed the Lord of the Rings films,
Mm-hmm.
right? They just continuously filmed.
Yep. Same thing with
They
Avengers,
they
Infinity War, and
stayed
Endgame.
in New Zealand. It's New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
Where they filmed Lord of the Rings, and then they filmed them all. Now you're filming half of your story,
Mm-hmm.
and just like, hey, if we get to come back and make the second part, great.
Well, see, that's
If
what
not,
I don't I don't know what the mindset was. I don't know if they didn't think it was going to be as big of a movie as it was going to be. But I mean, it broke. Like, I've got a tweet here. It broke pandemic records. So Dune has not only won the weekend domestic box office with ticket sales of $40.1 million, but it also set a pandemic record for Warner Brothers for the biggest 3-day opening since the company started its day and date strategy on HBO Max. So that doesn't include your HBO Max numbers, which again we don't hardly see. Even that comes with Disney Plus as well. So I
yeah.
mean, but everybody that I have seen tweet about it, talk about it, absolutely loves it. And these are people that didn't even read the book or know anything about the movie that came out in the 70s, 78, I think is what it was, or 86
It's
maybe.
like 80,
Yeah,
maybe 86,
yeah,
84,
because it's
somewhere.
it's been a while since that movie came out. But this one, oh, Chris, I'm telling you, it was so good. Like, I've heard HBO Max, that version might be a little dark, like visually, like not
Uh-huh.
bright enough, but it's 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 a good movie. I don't know if it's going to captivate everybody like it captivated me.
So I saw the original years ago. I vaguely remember it. Uh, this is one of those where I'd like to rewatch the original
Mm-hmm.
and then watch this one and see what changed.
Dude, it's
Because
good.
I would bet, because see, I never, like I said, I watched it once. I never read the books. I would bet what they did with the original is they condensed it
Mm-hmm.
to get the whole book into like a 2.5 hour film.
Yeah.
And so there's probably a lot of stuff missing
Well, and it
that,
helps that this had a star-studded cast. Like, I mean, it had Zendaya, Timothy Chalamet was the main actor. It had Jason Momoa, Dave Bautista, Josh Brolin. I mean, it had a lot of good actors and actresses in it. And man, and my buddy was not really, he wasn't spoiling it, but he said that the next part is right when the book starts getting good, like real good. I mean, the book is good right now. He said, but where they stopped is where it's about to take off and start running. And I'm like, oh, I am all here for it. I mean, it's just such a beautiful movie. Oh, it's absolutely stunning. Okay, so yeah, I watched something else this week.
speaking of beautiful movies, our review of the week is Halloween
Mm-hmm.
Kills. So we were gonna do this last week initially, and you weren't able to get to it.
Right.
So um, essentially this picks up right after the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, It's taking place the same night, and when I say the first one, I mean the last one that we
2018.
got, 2018. Um, they've the house is in flames. At the end of that film, we see Lori and Karen and what's the granddaughter's
I
name?
don't remember the granddaughter's name at all. That's
It's terrible that I'm
no,
that
no.
I'm forgetting.
I've got some hot takes on this one too. So
So, we saw Lori and Karen and whichever name
Allison.
Tyler's about, Allison. We see them get in the bed of a pickup truck and they're riding into town, and that's kind of how the film ends. And then they, if I remember right, they cut to a shot of the bars over
Mm-hmm.
the basement, and it's in flames, and you're left to assume Michael Myers has died and been burned, and it's over.
Right.
We know it's not, but so it literally, in the modern part of the story, picks up there. They also flash back occasionally to 1978 um, to show bits of the story, kind of fill in things. They had a nice little scene where they used old footage to get Donald Pleasance in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's standing at the foot of the stairs and then outside on the lawn. So some nice movie trickery to get him in this. Um, but and I will say this, I did like the fact that they were able to get some of the original people back.
Right.
So and I'm forgetting her name. The one that played Lindsay in this, she kind of looked like Demi Moore.
Kyle Richards.
Yeah, Kyle Richards. She looked like Demi Moore, and I had to actually look her up and be like, is that her?
Right.
Um, she actually played that part, the part of Lindsay, in the original film.
Mm-hmm.
She was originally the Lindsay character back then. So it's cool that they were able to bring some of these people back and have them play the characters that they played back then. But there's not basically. Um, I don't know how much we should tell. It does also star Anthony Michael Hall
Mm-hmm.
as Tommy.
He's back.
He's he's the uh, he's the kid that Lori was babysitting.
Right.
Um,
Very
in,
still
in
emotionally
the
scarred.
yeah, and in fact, he tells her at one point, "You protected me all those years ago. Now it's my turn to protect you."
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Michael, obviously, this is not a spoiler. He escapes the house.
Yeah. I mean, they
He
showed in the
does,
trailer him killing all the firefighters.
yeah. He doesn't have to try very hard
No.
to escape the house. Um, but it is a brutal scene,
Well, this
and
whole movie was very gory, sometimes
yeah,
over the top gory, which I know that's what they were going for.
right.
But there was one kill scene in this movie that I think was the absolute funniest kill I have seen in a long time. Um, it involved a door and a gun, and
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say. And I think I laughed so hard
yeah.
at that. I said I don't think I've ever seen one get killed like that before. And so this movie, were they intentionally trying to have that 80s acting vibe to it? Because to me, a lot of this film felt very campy and very cheesy at some points. Like, to me, a lot of these actors could not act. And I don't know if
I
they were intentionally going for like the old 80s feel, but it took me out of the story a couple times. I was like, and it being a nurse now, it never helps when I see a nurse in a hospital scene and things are just completely ass backwards. Like they kick the nurse out of the room in one of these scenes, and she leaves behind all these drugs, and I'm like, one, that's not how that happens. They did some things that were accurate, but she left like a heavy narcotic that Lori stabs herself with and injects herself, which it's not an intramuscular narcotic, so she would have literally not gotten anything out of that, but maybe an infection in her leg. But the hospital scene, all I'm going to say is if I was ever working and that ever happened at my hospital, I would quit right then and there. Like, yeah, I'm just done. You can mail me my check. I'm out of here because that was bonkers. And
Yeah.
but it was a good follow up. Do I wish this was not a trilogy at this point? Yes. I know we're getting another movie that's going to supposedly tie it all together,
Mm-hmm.
or tie it up rather. Do I think this should have ended with 2018? For me, yes, because you leave it with that mystery that they could come back and do one several years later. Um, I just didn't enjoy it as much as 2018. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first 20, like the original one. It, I mean, it had good parts, but some of the bad acting took me out of it. The the way that they did some of these storylines, like the whole city really, the whole hospital, the whole hospital part I did not like it. Like if they took that out of the movie, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more. I understand what they were going for by doing it with having that mob mentality, yeah. But
Yeah.
everything else was, I understand what they're trying to set up with it too. But it honestly, the whole hospital thing might have been because I'm a nurse and I've worked in a hospital. Because none of that would have happened, and the fact that I'm trying to stay away from spoilers because it is a new movie, but and then the whole cops, the whole, again, I understand what they're trying to go for, but it was very unrealistic for me. The whole everything to do with the police in this film was
Mm-hmm.
really kind of took me out of it. To me, oh, I need to put in letterbox as usual, but to me, it's a right around a C minus for me. No, but with 2018, that movie, I loved it. Like from start to finish, it was so much fun. We got a little bit of character story development with Lori this movie. Um, that's all I'm gonna say because I can't really say it without spoiling the whole motive of Michael Myers. But oh, look at there, Michael Myers and Dune right beside each other on Letterboxd, so this will be easy to put in. But that's where I'm at with the movie, right at two and a
Yeah.
half, three
Yeah.
stars.
Um, I think I already put mine in letterboxed. Um, but for me, I think I was higher on it than you are. Um, but I understand what you're saying with some of the stuff. Like what little I've been in hospitals, I know that there's sometimes because of the drug that they're bringing in, they have to get it right out of the bottle, right?
Yeah,
The
the
little
vial.
vial or but then other times usually they walk in with a syringe and it's already in
Yeah,
there.
because we've already mixed it and got
Yeah.
ready to go.
So you're not toting in a tray full of vials.
I was,
Um,
and I was watching it with my dad too, and he's a trauma director and been an ER nurse for years. And I was, and Jamie was sitting beside me. I said, I said this isn't very good. I said because even if that was a painkiller, you're not going to put that in your thigh or IM. It's not going to work. I said the best she did was maybe give herself a thigh full of antibiotic because
yeah.
that's just what it
Yeah.
looked like to me. But
Yeah. I think some of the acting, um, and a lot of these people, I think, have continued to act. Yeah, it's just uh, they came of age acting during that time.
mm-hmm.
Now, I think Anthony Michael Hall was really good,
Oh yeah, no, I didn't have a problem with him.
but I think some of the supporting cast um, that came of age acting in that era kind of did come off that way. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that was intentional. Is that something that they kind of sacrificed to go back and have the uh, the effect of having some of those people that were originally in the first movie? Yeah. Um, the novelty of that, was it worth the trade-off? They may have felt that it was because they're supporting characters. Typically, I think with Anthony Michael Hall and Jamie Lee Curtis and um, uh, Karen, um,
Judy Greer.
Judy Greer, as your kind of your top trio, you got a pretty good place to start.
Yeah.
Um, this was, there are definitely some fun kills
Mm-hmm.
in this movie. So to me, I think the gore, I think it got stepped up in this one in part because the first one, some of the kills were so iconic,
Right.
right? The bathroom kill,
Mm-hmm.
where he just throttles that guy, and it's just, it was in the previews, bits of it.
Yeah.
But then when you see the full scene in the movie, it's just like, oh gosh, wow. And I don't think that they quite got to that point in this one,
Mm.
but they replaced some of the, I feel like they replaced some of the violence, the physical violence, with gore.
Yeah.
Um, as far as does the film, you kind of mentioned it felt kind of incomplete. We kind of had this happen before with a Disney film when the Pirates of the Caribbean series was going on. I
Yep.
think it was the second and third ones. They filmed them back to back, and then when they released the second one, everybody was like, "The ending of that sucked,"
Yeah. There's not
and it's
really an ending.
because, right, it's because the ending's the next part of the film. So I'm hoping that the next installment of Halloween Dies. Number one, I do hope it lives up to the name,
Yeah.
right? 'Cause I think it's time to wrap this up.
Right.
Um, but I'm hoping that that's where this one, Halloween Kills, pays off in Halloween Dies. Put the character to bed for a while.
Yeah.
You know, somebody can make another Halloween franchise in 30 years,
Right.
and
Bring it
everybody
back
will
and
be
bring the
ready for it.
novelty back. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll
Like,
be
in
jonesing
30
for it
years when
again.
we're all in VR rooms watching it, we're actually part of the scenes and
Oh Lord, you definitely will not be watching those
right.
movies
No.
that way. But yeah, I ended up giving it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd. It wasn't, I didn't like it as much as 18, but I thought it was good. I thought it kind of held its own.
Yeah.
I thought it was worth the hype.
I'm just ready for the next one. And whenever we get that.
Yeah.
I don't even think they
Well,
filmed
this
it
one
yet.
was, so the first one was 18,
This
and
was
this,
supposed to come out in 2020.
yeah.
So 2
So we'll
years.
probably get it in 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see if the pandemic stays away still.
All right. Cool. So our reviews for that. Now, next week's review is A Quiet Place. Is
And
this a
that will.
Jamie pick?
Yeah, so the next two were technically supposed to be A Quiet Place and then Get Out was going to wrap it up. But I think with me missing that week to do a double feature is what pushed it back. So this will be our last Halloween movie, maybe, unless nothing big comes out the following week and we can watch Get Out afterwards. I feel like A
All
Quiet
right.
Place was more Halloweeny, scary-y, more than Get Out was, because Get Out's like a
Mhm.
psychological thriller. This one's more
Right.
horror-esque.
Well, if you want to hear something really scary, Tyler,
Oh no.
we have some Marvel delays
Mm-hmm.
to discuss. This comes from Variety.com, and The byline goes to Rebecca Rubin. Disney delays Doctor Strange 2, Thor 4, Black Panther sequel, and non Marvel related Indiana Jones 5. Which, if it's like Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, they can just not make it.
Just not make
Okay?
it.
Just stick to the original trilogy. Um, it says Marvel fans prepare to wait a little bit longer to see Doctor Strange, Thor, and Black Panther return to theaters. Disney has delayed release plans for several upcoming films, including Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, from March the 25th to May the 6th. Thor Love and Thunder from May the 6th to July the 8th, and Black Panther Wakanda Forever from July the 8th to November the 11th.
Mhm.
With the Black Panther sequel jumping to November, The Marvels has been postponed to early 2023, and Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania was bumped from February the 17th to July the 28th, 2023.
Which
Along with,
was
huh,
crazy to me because they're filming Ant-Man and the Wasp right now.
right.
So that's a long time.
It's basically going to pull a Black Widow and sit for about a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Along with the deluge of Marvel delays, Disney has moved the fifth Indiana Jones installment back nearly a year. The still untitled film starring Harrison Ford as the fedora wearing, swashbuckling archaeologist will open on June 30th, 2023, instead of July 29th, 2022. Um, the release date shuffle comes after Marvel's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings cemented its place as a pandemic era box office hit, and ahead of Eternals, the MCU entry scheduled for November the 5th. Um, it says the overhaul is related to production and not box office returns, according to sources at Disney. The next Black Panther entry, for one, is still filming in Atlanta. And since Marvel has become an interconnected and meticulously planned universe which spans dozens of film and several new television series, any production delay causes a domino effect on the rest of the franchise. Four untitled 2023 movies from Marvel, 20th Century, and Disney's live action division have been removed from the calendar, while one untitled Marvel movie has relocated from November the 10th to November the 3rd, 2023.
It's
Um,
got to be a
let's
Fantastic Four.
see. You would think, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that this caused speculation of is will they delay Spider-Man?
No, it's there's no way they're delaying it. I
You don't think?
well, I don't I want to say no way. No,
Because Doctor
because they're
Strange's spot is now open
yeah. Well,
at
I
March
think they'll
25th
want
spot.
to hit it with a banger at the end of the year because they're already advertising the absolute nonsense out of this movie, and I think it will get them a lot of ill will, but it still won't cause people not to watch it if they move it. But I mean, they're already in theaters advertising when this is happening. Whereas like with
Mhm.
Black Widow, it's always been maybe or beginning of year or I mean, they've given it dates, but like they usually, I mean, we're 2 months away essentially from this movie coming out, and I don't think they've pushed with Black Widow. I think it's been like 3 or 4 months out. They pushed it back, like when they're watching trends and stuff. But I don't know. I really hope not. But we'll just have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah. Um, so that's all the movie news. Nothing else big. Release dates this week on October the 29th on Netflix. You can see Army of Thieves.
That's our uh, Army of the Dead, whatever that
Yeah.
movie we want. That's the prequel to it. So,
Yeah.
video games. Have you been playing anything fun, anything interesting this week?
Not really. No.
That's that's where I've been. I want to like I've played maybe 30 minutes of Destiny, and it's the new season, The Lost, and I've done just about everything with it, and it's we're getting to that point where it's become the hiatus point for Destiny, unless like you play it for a living, but
Right.
it's to that point where there's not a whole lot of new content going on, so it gives me a little bit of time to play a little bit more of my backlog.
There
Video game
was
news, which is not good, which I've been waiting for, and I think Chris has as well, is that CD Projekt Red delays Cyberpunk 2077 and Witcher 3 next gen updates. I'm going directly to their Twitter to read this statement. Dear all, we have an important update regarding next generation updates to Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt for consoles and PC. Based on recommendations supplied by teams supervising development of both games, we decided to postpone the releases until 2022. Our current target now for Cyberpunk 2077 is the first quarter of 2022 and second quarter of 2022 for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Apologies for the extended wait, but we want to make it right.
Yeah, I don't care what they have to say anymore.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, honestly, I know that's maybe being a bit of a dick, but I don't. I don't.
they too much ill will.
They've lost me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I I don't need to play their game. So
I'm I'm
there's other
wanting to
stuff.
play the game again, but once it's complete. Like I know a lot of people are saying, it's fine now. There's not but like some people have bugs, some people don't have bugs at all. I had a bug first playing it when it released. So I'm like, I want to play this because it does look beautiful, and I want to play the story because of what I've played of it. Like I'm in it, but I want it to be playable, and I want it to be optimized. I want what we were promised. Is essentially what it
Right.
was. But well, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt upgrades I'm all about because that was a
The the
phenomenal game.
the problem with gaming, right, is while this has all been going on, other people have been putting out some
Bangers.
amazing games,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to catch that window. And they kept telling us before it ever streeted. They pushed it back, what, two or three times.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, we want to make sure it's right for release. And it came out and it still wasn't right.
Right.
And they had all that crunch that they put their employees through and everything else. And it's just like, if you're gonna do something like that, you have to deliver a product that's acceptable to the player. I'm I'm more interested in going back and starting at the beginning of like the Dark Pictures anthology because their new one's coming out, right? House of
Yeah,
Ash,
House of Ash came out on
something like
Friday. This
yeah.
past Friday.
So see, I would rather go play through those three games than pick this up
Mm-hmm.
and start playing it again. It
And
just
I mean, like you were saying, on top of more things coming out
yeah,
around that time, because first
yeah.
quarter is like up until March,
Mhm.
and February is absolutely stacked.
Yep.
So, then the second last news story I've got here, the Uncharted trailer is finally here.
Yep.
Watched it. I'm intrigued. I still can't get past Tom Holland as Spider-Man, and that's just the curse. He lives for me right now.
It's
But
gonna be like Christopher Reeve was with Superman.
yeah, exactly.
Just
And just gonna take a minute to get out of that because he looks almost the exact same, just with
so
different clothes.
let me ask you this. People have commented that Mark Wahlberg looks better for the role. Now, I have heard people say, and I would always support this, Nathan Fillion would have been a good Nathan
Absolutely.
Drake. Uh, but I was watching the review that Alana Pierce did for this trailer.
Hmm.
She said she spoke to someone involved with the production who would know Nathan Fillion back when they first started planning the film, which has been a few years now.
It's been 8 years since they
He
announced they
uh,
were gonna make this movie.
he was approached about it and said no
Hmm.
because at that time video game movies were not doing well.
And someone says still not doing well.
Uh, but once the tide on that turned, he actually went back to them and said, "Hey, I'd kind of be interested in doing this." And from what she said, she was told in Hollywood, once you pass on a project, a lot of times they don't let you come back to it. So they went ahead with other casting.
Hmm. I'm excited
But
because what the trailer looks like is a bunch of the greatest hits from all four games,
mhm,
like the plane scene, which is the biggest one people are talking about, and some other things like that. Is like they're putting it all into one, so is this gonna be like a one and done movie, or I
they're
doubt it, but we'll see.
they're saying it's mainly 3 and 4.
Yeah,
is what it's. I did love the scene with the airplane, not
Mm-hmm. With the
but
cargo and everything.
with the cargo.
Oh, like
It
someone
was
put it
really
like
well done.
side and side of the game in it, and it looks almost identical. So I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, y'all are doing something right.
yeah,
Uh,
very good.
Notable new releases for this week: we've got Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy comes out October 26th for everything. Riders Republic for everything October 28th, and Mario Party Superstars for the Switch, which is like a lot of Mario Party, and I may or may not be getting that game.
I'm just gonna tell you, I'm not gonna play Guardians.
You either, huh? No, I'm not either. That's the gameplay and all of it does not really have me invested in it. So
Yeah, I've heard the
even
soundtrack is really
oh
good
yeah,
though.
I've heard that, but I'm just like
Oh,
I'll watch a playthrough of someone else playing it. So,
yeah.
but guys, thank you all so much for listening and watching this podcast. We really hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the NerdWide podcast. Don't forget to share on all your favorite social media platforms and forget to rate and review this podcast on all your podcasting services. As always, this has been the NerdWide podcast. Next week is our final Halloween episode, maybe. So, guys, enjoy the weekend. Get a lot of candy, especially if you're getting dots. So, everyone, have a good, safe weekend, and we cannot wait to see you next time.
Later, guys.